If you're not subscribed to Seahawks Today, you're missing out on all the latest Seattle Seahawks news and rumors, including our watch parties, live shows, and breaking news, all in one place right here on Seahawks Today. So join the family and subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment. We need your help. We are closing in on 28,000 subscribers here on Seahawks Today. We are just 3 away. So join us and subscribe to Seahawks Today. YouTube.com/Seahawks TV. That's YouTube.com/Seahawks TV, and turn on notifications. Welcome into Seahawks Today, presented by Manscaped. We'll tell you more about what they do coming up later on in the show. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us, as today we have a comprehensive look at the Seahawks quarterback battle between Geno Smith and Drew Lock. And we have an update on Drew Lock that we will begin with on the show, as Lock has returned to Seahawks practice after testing positive for COVID-19 on Tuesday of last week. And we heard it was brutal, that it was not an easy bout for Drew Lock dealing with COVID-19, but nonetheless, he is back in the facility ready to go. So here's a few points to look at with Lock's return. Remember, he was supposed to start last week against the Chicago Bears. Pete Carroll had made the announcement on Tuesday, just within an hour or so before he tested positive for COVID-19. So something to think about there with Drew Lock is that this was supposed to be his time to shine. Ultimately, he was sitting on the sidelines. Number 2, he received first-team reps for the very first time. Not only was he supposed to start against the Bears, but he was finally getting first-team reps in practice, which he was not seeing at all prior to Tuesday. So just as the stars were starting to align somewhat for Drew Lock, that's when he got hit with COVID. Now, he is expected to start the preseason finale coming up on Friday night against the Dallas Cowboys. So although he's missed this time, it is looking like he'll get another opportunity coming up later on this week. So that's good news for Drew Lock there. On the situation, here's what Pete Carroll had to say about what Drew Lock has gone through the last several days. This week is a screwed-up week for a guy to get a bunch of turns and all that. He worked with the ones yesterday in prep for the game, and that's really all he got. I would have liked to see that happen through this little mini week, but we'll see what happens next week. We'll figure it out, but it was important that that's where we're going to do extra work after practice with DK and with Locke and with Will Dissly, and we just weren't able to do that, so we missed out on that opportunity. So that was Pete Carroll a couple of days ago on Drew Lock of this time that he's missed. We'll have more on this quarterback competition comparing Drew Lock and Geno Smith directly in just one moment. Before we do, here's your turn to weigh in here on Seahawks Today. Who is going to win the quarterback competition between Drew Lock and Geno Smith? Let me know in the comments section who wins this outright. Not anything to do with a possible suspension for Geno Smith, anything like that. Just let me know who will win this job when it's all said and done, Drew Lock or Geno Smith. You might get an ad break. If so, take advantage of it and let us know in the comment section below. DL for Drew Lock, GS for Geno Smith. Let me know. So where things stand right now, the depth chart has not officially changed. Geno Smith is still quarterback number 1 right now with Drew Lock number 2. And there is a significant gap to Jacob Eason. Jacob Eason did play in the second half of the last preseason game, but Pete Carroll and the coaching staff have made it known that this is a 2-quarterback race, that Jacob Eason is basically not a part of the equation. The only time this preseason that we've seen Lock and Smith both on the field in the same game was that first preseason game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you can see the numbers. Both quarterbacks played fairly well. Lock went 11 of 15 for 102 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. Geno Smith went 10 of 15 for 101 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. Both quarterbacks with no interceptions in that game against Pittsburgh. And afterwards, the folks at SB Nation did a survey among Seahawk fans, and you, the Seahawk fans, according to SB Nation, thought Locke was more impressive. Now, the numbers from Pro Football Focus, those nerds thought that Geno Smith played a better game. But according to the eye of the Seahawk fan, the night belonged to Drew Lock in that first preseason game. Now, when we saw Geno Smith by himself against the Bears last week, it wasn't very good. It was a lot left to be desired for Geno Smith, going 10 of 18, 112 passing yards, no touchdowns and no interceptions, and the offense really was stagnant. They could not move the football much at all with Geno Smith leading the way. We really didn't see the offense do anything until Jacob Eason came in the second half. So with that, even with Drew Lock not playing this past week, with him dealing with COVID, it was a situation potentially where maybe him not being on the field helped his circumstance potentially get this job because of how poorly Geno Smith played. So with that, you tell me, what's your confidence level in Geno Smith and Drew Lock right now? For both quarterbacks, whoever wins the starting job and is the Seahawks quarterback, where does your confidence level rank for the Seahawks quarterback room with these two right now? Let me know in the comment section. Type 1 through 10. Put a number on it of how you would rate your confidence level in either quarterback for the Seahawks going forward. Today's show is presented by Manscaped, and folks, it is fantasy football season, and with that, the leader in below-the-waist grooming has created a championship lineup with their Performance Package 4.0, and you can join 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping at checkout if you use the promo code Seahawks. The best grooming products around are with Manscaped, and it is quite the deal that we're offering. 20% off, promo code Seahawks, free shipping. You don't want to miss out on this deal. Get yours now at manscaped.com, promo code Seahawks at checkout. So let's get to know Drew Lock and Geno Smith a little bit more individually. Starting out with Drew Lock, a 2019 second-round pick out of Missouri, started 21 games in 3 years with the Denver Broncos. And the time there in Denver was not great for Drew Lock. He had 25 touchdowns, 20 interceptions, and a less than 60% completion percentage. Ultimately, he lost his job to Teddy Bridgewater at the beginning of last year. Teddy Bridgewater ended up getting hurt, and we did see Drew Lock again, but it was very up and down, a lot of peaks and valleys for Drew Lock in his time in Denver with more lows than highs there. Meanwhile, Geno Smith, the veteran between the two, has been in the league since being picked out of West Virginia in 2013 by the New York Jets, and he joined the Seahawks in 2019 after previously playing for the Los Angeles Chargers and the New York Football Giants. The numbers for Geno Smith, not great throughout his career, 34 touchdowns, 37 interceptions, and a completion percentage near 59%. Now, Geno Smith, though, the one thing that has differentiated him from Drew Lock going into this year, the advantage that he had of sorts, was already playing a year under this system last year and playing solid, filling in for Russell Wilson last year when Wilson was out and when Smith had to start a few games. So that was kind of the advantage that Smith had going in, and with that, the Seahawks coaching staff kind of put more to Geno Smith's plate, that they gave him the first team reps out of the gate, and now Drew Lock's had to kind of play from behind because of the previous experience that Geno Smith had. So I'll give you my thoughts here in just a second, but want to make sure that you're subscribed here to Seahawks Today for nonstop Seattle Seahawks coverage all year long. It's free right here on the channel, youtube.com/Seahawks TV. It includes our Seahawks Today live show, which is every Wednesday, including this week at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Myself and our crew, we have a great time here reacting to your questions and answering them in real time. And if you haven't been a part of one of these shows, you need to be here Wednesday for Seahawks Today Live, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Subscribe to the channel and never miss a moment so you can be a part of Seahawks Today here on the channel. So one more thing before I give my verdict, before I weigh in with my final thoughts on this, folks, is that I know that we have focused a lot on this quarterback battle throughout the preseason. And you take a whole game away from Drew Lock, it makes that decision tougher because that's a whole lot less reps to review. But there is a gap. Since we only play 3 preseason games now, comparably speaking, when the old days we had 4 preseason games, there is quite the gap between the end of the preseason and the start of the regular season. That's a total of 16 days and at least 9 practices between the two. So with that, you have the end of the preseason wrapping up this week, but there's still a lot of time. I have said that the quarterback battle does not begin until the preseason starts. And that doesn't mean that it ends with the end of the preseason either. This could drag on throughout these next couple of practices or so. So with that said, I'm not saying that we'll have an answer by Friday, one way or the other, of who the starting quarterback will be. But at the end of the day, if I had to make a verdict of what is going to happen, I would guess that Drew Lock is going to be your starter for the Seattle Seahawks when it's all said and done. That the way things are shifting, with Drew Lock getting more reps, with Geno Smith's subpar performance in that last preseason game, you know what you're getting out of Geno Smith. The ceiling is not very high. With Drew Lock, still a relatively young quarterback, we don't necessarily know for sure how high his ceiling could go. And so if I'm the Seahawks, and right now if you make me make a decision, I would go ahead and go forward with Drew Lock to see what you have going forward and try to get the most out of this offense you possibly can. We've seen in just a little bit of time, granted just a little bit of time, the Seahawks, when they've been able to take things up a notch, it's with Drew Lock. It's not with Geno Smith. So something to think about there on that front. We'll continue to follow this quarterback competition here on Seahawks Today. Thanks for watching. If you made it to the end of today's video, you are a real one. And with that, spam real one in the comments section. And we'll see you next time here on Seahawks Today.